All right, let's dive into something pretty radical in education. What if a teacher's main job wasn't really to teach, but to guide? That's the absolute core of the Montessori philosophy. And today, we're going to break down exactly what that means. So let's get right to the heart of it. What really separates a Montessori guide from a traditional teacher? And you'll see it's not just about, the classroom setup or the materials. It's a completely different mindset. Okay, so this slide just nails the difference, right? On one side, you've got the traditional model, the teacher at the front, the sage on the stage, the center of all the attention. But in Montessori, the whole dynamic flips. The guide, they walk beside the child. They're a facilitator, a supportive presence on the journey, not the one directing it from the front. To really wrap our heads around this role, we're going to lean on this one powerful metaphor that runs through the entire philosophy. This idea of thinking of the teacher as a gardener. It's such a beautiful and honestly a really helpful way to reframe the whole purpose of education. Okay, so if the teacher's the gardener and the child is the seed, what's job number one? Well, it's not about forcing growth, right? Nope. It's all about preparing the soil. This is about meticulously crafting a learning environment where a child's natural curiosity can just take off. And that big job, it really breaks down into these three core responsibilities. First up, prepare the environment. Second, guide the learning process. And third, and this one is huge, protect the child's freedom. Their freedom to choose, to explore, and to really concentrate. And preparing that environment, it is so much more than just tidying up. Everything has a purpose and a place. The furniture, it's child size to foster independence. The materials are designed to be self-correcting, so a kid can learn from their own mistakes. And all this order isn't about being rigid. It's about creating a predictable, safe space that frees up a child's mind to focus on learning, not on navigating chaos. All right, so the soil is prepped. The environment is perfect. Now the gardener's job kind of shifts. It goes from the physical space to the personal qualities of the guide. It's all about tending the seedling, and that is the true art of guidance. Maria Montessori herself had this incredible quote that I think just captures this perfectly. She said, "The teacher is a scientist and a saint." Just think about that. A scientist, you have to be this keen observer, analyzing what's happening. But also a saint, full of patience, humility, and this deep, genuine respect for the child's spirit. And this chart here does such a good job of breaking that down. Look at this connection. Patience isn't just about waiting. Its purpose is to allow the child to unfold naturally, at their own pace. Humility's purpose is to know when to step back so the child can step forward. And that is so hard for so many of us, isn't it? We're just wired to jump in and help. But a guide understands their role isn't to be the hero of the story, but to create the conditions for the child to become their own. Now, this next idea, this might be the most counterintuitive part of the entire philosophy. A guide's greatest power lies in restraint. Think about that. It's not about what they do, but in what they consciously choose not to do. That decision to hold back, to not interfere, that's where the magic of real, independent learning happens. To really see what this principle of restraint looks like in action, let's walk through a classic classroom story. This is where all these ideas come together and we get to see how the flower is allowed to bloom, all on its own. So the story starts simply enough. Picture a young child in the classroom totally focused on building the iconic pink tower, carefully placing one cube on top of another. And then it happens. The tower wobbles and crash! The whole thing comes tumbling down. Now, what's our first instinct? To rush in, right? To help, to correct, to say, "Oh, let me show you." But the Montessori guide does the hardest thing possible. Nothing. They simply watch, silent and still, protecting that bubble of concentration. And because the guide didn't intervene, the child doesn't see the fall as failure or a reason for shame. They're undisturbed. They simply begin again, absorbing the lesson of physics and balance until they successfully build the tower. And only then do they look up, a smile of pure satisfaction on their face. And right there, that's the profound takeaway. That feeling of accomplishment belongs 100% to the child. The guide didn't give it to them, they earned it. And that is how you build real self-esteem and a lifelong love of learning. So when you see moments like that happen day after day, you really start to get the lasting impact. This was never just about learning how to build a tower, was it? It's about building a capable, confident person. That is the garden's legacy. So it all comes right back to our central metaphor. The Montessori guide prepares the soil, provides the light and water, and then they have the wisdom and the restraint to simply step back and let the flower bloom. And that leaves us with a pretty powerful thought to chew on. Whether you're a teacher, a parent, or just a lifelong learner, it's a great question to ask yourself. If the child is a flower, what kind of garden are you creating for them to grow in?